Hey, it's Drybear. Today I'd like to talk about the upcoming legendary skins for Lost Ark, and we'll do a brief overview of the Oz's jar. I'll probably do a separate video on the jar and how it works and my thoughts on the system overall, but I wanted to make sure that people got to see what legendary skins looked like and how they functioned. So let's go. But first, today's video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. And if you're a Lost Ark player, then you're no stranger to challenging content. In Raid, look no further than the super tough Doom Tower. It's this massive tower that houses the biggest and baddest villains in it, and each floor demands a different strategy and all the strength that you have. So if you're up for it, it is the ultimate endgame challenge. And there's a ton happening in Raid this month. They've got special events every single day, including an entirely new event for the summer solstice called Path of Light. Raid's also running a special Deliana chase event where you can get your hands on the amazing Deliana, a brand new legendary champion from the High Elves faction. And all you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between right now and July 20th, and you'll get Deliana, a legendary champion, for free. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description, you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking about a free epic champion Vergus, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, an XP boost, and an ancient shard, so you can summon more awesome champions as soon as you get in game. All this treasure will be waiting for you here, and it's that easy. Just check the link in the description and your adventure begins. Hurry up and enter promo code MyDeliana to get Deliana and bonuses. Now, first off, legendary skins do give additional stats on the skin itself. We're playing on my Korean account right now, so you can see that these give the 1%. You'll get an additional 1% from legendary skins, and they can be worn with or without being shown. So you can actually show your character. You can hide the legendary skins or have your skin on top of it if you don't like the look of legendary skin. The extra 4% total, when you average everything out and you play it out because it gives you attack power, not direct damage, it equals about 1.9 or 2% extra damage you get from the legendary skins. And they're pretty hard to get. To get them, a quick synopsis on how the system works without going into detail on the monetization scheme and everything like that. You will have to disenchant skins that you have that have purchased from the real money transaction shop, and you'll get this golden fabric, and then you can use this golden fabric to basically loot box RNG the skins that already exist, the epic ones, and you have a chance 5% each, so 10% total of getting one of the 2 variations of the legendary skins, which will give you again additional attack power main stat from wearing. Now, without going into detail further than that, I think that's enough to note that's what these look like. But for this video, let's go over all of the skins so you know what they look like. We'll talk about them, we'll look at them, we'll spin them around. It's going to be a good time. Starting with the Gunners. This is the Sharpshooter. And again, there are 2 color variants for each of the legendary skins. What's cool about them is you can actually dye them. So although they are dyeable, they do have 2 different colors. So for Sharpshooter, this is the white version. And honestly, I think that this is one of the best Sharpshooter skins in the game. This is season 2. There's theories that we're not going to get season 1 skins because they overall weren't that good. The season 1 legendaries. There were a couple that were pretty good, like Gunslinger was pretty good. Artillerist was okay. And there just weren't classes that existed at the time. But these are the season 2 ones where they put a little more effort into them. And I think this Sharpshooter one looks really good. I actually think that this legendary Sharpshooter skin with the legendary 1 bow, because it's bigger and it is white, would be super cool. And again, these are dyeable, so you can put patterns on these. You can change it up. You can see how intricate this one is. You have the Silverhawk statue on the shoulder. And the dark version looks like this. It is black with kind of like a dark brass color to it. And rather than the blue glow, it has the red glow. So it kind of has that kind of, buckled. It looks almost like it's from Phaeton. It's got that very evil vibe, evil aesthetic to it. I think the effects are cool. And I think that this skin also would work well pairing with other skins, maybe using the hood or maybe just the jacket, the head or the chest and leg piece combined with other, maybe a different weapon or a different head. Some cool options there. This is the Deadeye Legendary Season 2 skin. I don't think this one would be for me, to be fair. I think that having the asymmetrical coat is nice. Or having that kind of extra little piece sticking up on one side and then it's down on the other. I like the effects on the weapons, which is really cool. You can show this on some of the bigger weapons as well. I don't really fancy the it looks like they're just white jeans and and then the fancy shoes. I think there's just so many of these skins in the game for male gunners that I this one just doesn't really stand out that much to me. But the effects on the weapons are nice. It probably goes really well with a weapon glow as well. I'll give it to you. The black one does stand out a lot better. I actually think the shoulder piece here with the flames in the eyes and the mouth coming out looks a lot better when it's a darker coloration. I think the coat looks better too. But this is the dark version of the Legendary Season 2 skin for Deadeye. This is the white version for Artillerist. And I cannot wait for this one to come out. If we, at some point, hopefully we get it. I think it's one of the better Artillerist skins in the game. I think the one we just got, the Dawn collection that has like the Gundam pieces going up, is also one of the better ones for Artillerist, but having the hood with that kind of like armor piece, it does kind of feel like that Scouter Arthatine vibe. The weapon is pretty standard, but I like the coloration on it. And again, these are dyeable, so you can go in and change some of the colors here or add patterns if you really wanted to, which is really cool. And the all black one with the light purple, light blue coloration with the effects on the side, I think is featured in a lot of marketing art for Lost Ark. It's one of the, very popular ones. I think this one it just fits the Artillerist so well. And I think the hood is nice. But again, what I like about these legendary skins is you can actually mix and match them a lot easier. So you could take the hood off if you wanted to show head. A lot of people would want to do that. You can mix in different weapons, maybe even like the Dark Omen weapon that has this coloration might fit with it. I like the gradient and the glowing on the bottom of the cape. And some extra pieces there, but that's the Artillerist. And since I'm already on my KR account, I may as well show some of the classes we don't have yet. We'll get them eventually soon, TM. But we'll show the Scouter really quick. I won't talk too much about it, but I think this is also one of the best Scouter skins in the game. This is kind of how I'd want my Scouter to play. He's got the little the HUD display over the shoulder with the light coming out, and the dark pieces on it. And the white one works so well too. It's got that kind of like it's got this reflectance on the inside on the thighs here, but then the white is so stark and pops. It's got the blue coloration for the VFX. It's almost like teal, and I think with the SMG it looks really good. I think this is just so thematic. I love this Scouter skin, and when Scouter comes out, I hope this skin isn't too far behind. Eventually, I hope to get this on a Scouter because I think it's one of the best Scouter skins in the game. This is the Gunslinger skin, and to be honest, it's not my favorite. This one feels kind of like the Deadeye. It feels a little too normal for a legendary skin. I feel like, the all black is nice. It's got like the red kind of back on the inside of the two cape shoulder pieces that fades away. The effects are nice. It's nice to have like these little burning embers that come off. Again, with Deadeye and Gunslinger, the hardest part is showing the weapon because the weapon is just so small in most cases, even with the weapon glow. But again, I could see this, like, I'm not a huge fan personally of the hat. I would take this off or maybe swap in something else. And it is dyeable, but to me, these feel a little bit normal for something that's so hard to get. And here's the alternate version. It's an all white with blue, very similar to the one I think with this on the all white. The metal fixtures, the metal pieces pop out a lot more on this coloration, maybe because the white just doesn't pull away from it, or just because that kind of, it's almost like a rose gold tint to it on that metal. You do have spikes here, depending on your hair. I think this hat would force this hair to come down, but it would show the hair color on it. And these are the weapons here. But the embers are cool. It's very sleek. It's very minimal and form-fitting. I just, for how hard the legendary skins are to get, I feel like it could be maybe a little bit more intricate. And this is the Artist, the Specialist, the only class in the subclass of Specialist. We don't have Artist, and we probably won't until maybe spring is kind of what the timeline is looking like now. But I like the weapon. It's very unique for the Artist. It's like having this like little flower. They do look like flower petals as well. And because she does a lot of her animations, she'll jump up on like her staff as a pogo stick. She'll swing it wide. She'll paint with it. I think having this kind of shape and this kind of aesthetic for a paintbrush is super cool. And the opposite color is this all black with white on the skin itself. I love the weapon. It's super cool. It's got this black gradient that goes into like this bright red at the top. And it does have these petal VFX coming off the top of it as well. But this is the other option for the coloration on the class that we will have one day. Moving on to warriors, starting with the Berserker Season 2 Legendary Skin. This is monstrous. The cape is pretty big. The weapon is even bigger, and it's got spires and glowing and spikes. Like, this feels almost like, I don't know, guarding the gates of heaven and the gates of hell. Like, just juggernaut, dreadnought looking. This is one of the better Berserker skins. There's a few that I like more than this one in the game, but this skin just looks so good on the Berserker. You can even sub out different weapons for this. Then would fit pretty well if they have red coloration and kind of that, or you could just dye it. This is the other coloration, and for anyone who's wondering why there are two colorations if the skins are dyeable, it's because of the parts that aren't dyeable, right? So every skin has, you know, dyeable skins. There are things that you can change, and there's like little sub elements that you can't. One of those is going to be the VFX. Obviously, you can't dye the color of the lights and the VFX coming off of the skin. So maybe you want to have this blue coming off of it, and then you can dye the colors around it if you really want to. Or maybe, you know, there's certain metal pieces or accents that may never change with dye. So you would find one that with the dye would look better. If you wanted the red, maybe you wanted to dye it with some orange or some yellows or things like that. And maybe with this one, you want to dye closer to the blue side of the spectrum. But this is the other option. Super cool, super good looking, and a nice profile as well. And this is the Destroyer skin, the first coloration, very similar to the Berserker, as the red with that bronze and then like a deeper red on the cloth down below. This one has these demon horns and these crazy, like almost like Wolverines or demon monsters on the shoulders. The weapon is absolutely massive. It's got spikes coming off of it. It's got this face on the side of it as well. So if we zoom out, we can see kind of a little bit of that. But this one is super cool. One of my favorite Destroyer skins in the game. I absolutely love this one. I think it looks really good. And again, dyeable. So you can change this up if you wanted to have, maybe mix up some of the coloring, maybe darken it or brighten it somehow, or maybe put some more coloration in the way that you like. But this is the first Destroyer skin, and this is the second, the Dark Tower Defender, mostly black. I mean, they kind of emphasize the blue on the cloth elements that hang off the waist. There's not that many VFX as compared to the Berserker version. So it's mostly, it's blacked out times infinity. Super cool on that. And I think this kind of adds into the Destroyer effects that are all, that some of the ones that are pretty blue as well. I think this fits really well in it, especially if you're going like gravity training build with him and you're spending a lot of time in that blue gravity vortex. I think this skin works really well with that. Moving on to Gunlancer. This one is basically Thar. It's the same kind of Moon Knight, Solar Knight look to it when you do South Vern. And actually North Vern as well. You'll see Thar, you'll meet him, and then this is basically what he looks like in the game. And you get to look like that for your Gunlancer. And this is one of the skins that was featured on the preview that they gave us for Western Lost Ark. So it's probably going to be the one they choose. And it's one of the reasons why I think that they're going to be doing the Season 2 Legendary skins for the West. It's kind of a shame. Most of the Season 1 skins were pretty bad, but there's a couple that are pretty cool and it would be fun to mix and match them. And I'm sure there's always going to be people that want one or the other. But this is the Gunlancer, and I think this one is just super regal. It's got a lot of tassels and things hanging off. Very intricate and regal on the cape that comes down. It's got layers to it. It's got like this angelic aura coming off the shield with some dark elements underneath it. The gun lance is super nice. It even has a shield on it, so you feel like you're this holy royal knight wielding holy power as a Gunlancer. And this is the blacked out version. Rather than having the blue effects, it has the purple, which looks just like the chaos characters you meet in South Vern that have amazing armor sets. As far as I know, there aren't ways to perfectly replicate how they look in the South Vern setup. This one is probably the closest, but again, it is Thar from South Vern and North Vern. So I think it's trying to replicate that look to it. But again, mostly black, like a super dark black on the accent. It's kind of like charcoal, specular black on the rest of the metal. Even the cloth has been darkened and blacked out. And then you have this deep purple. This one is super good. I love it for the Gunlancer. But this is the Season 2 Legendary skin setup. On to Paladin. And there is a fair argument to be made here that this is the best Paladin skin in the entire game. The eye slits that come through here, there's a black version as well, but this white one reminds me both of Aizen from Bleach, just kind of having that all white but evil kind of aesthetic. And even if you are a fan of like Sword Art Online, like the holy like main guild that has this kind of look to it, super cool. It's got this kind of blood, almost like vampiric aura to the weapon. And I think just the hood and the helmet just looks so good on the Paladin. This is, I think, one of the best, if not the best Paladin skin in the game. Obviously, skins are subjective, so maybe you have one that you like more, but this one is one of the better ones for Paladin for sure. And of course, as with the other warriors, you have the all blacked out version. Rather than the vampiric blood red effect that you have, you actually have this kind of like misty, sandy, rust colored look to it. On the effects, you have a little bit of on the chest here, a little bit in the eye slits, like this little plus sign that you have for the eyes, and then just kind of glowing through it, but it's all blacked out. And again, what you could do, you could get the white version for the effects and then dye everything else because they are dyeable, but this is the legendary Paladin skin. Moving on to mages. I think it's fair to cover the Arcanist or Arcana in the Eastern regions. So this is the third mage class. We're set to get this in July if the patch schedule stays on course. So she is the card drawing, more RNG deck drawing kind of mage. I think this kind of fits for her. It is one of the better ones for Arcana personally. I would have this one for her, mainly because I think it kind of feels like she's in a casino. I don't know. It feels like you could have someone like this walking around the casino floor at a high class casino, and it wouldn't really feel out of place, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So you could definitely make this work really well for Arcana. You can even swap out, different pants or different ways to look for the character if you really want. And you can dye it, obviously, but I think this one fits with Arcana really well. And if you didn't like the core kind of black one, there is a white version. It's got like this very mute peach, like dull peach kind of metal color to it with all white. It does have a high spec on the cloth itself. And then the heels themselves, I believe, are very similar to the top. It just kind of has that like almost earthy peach metal color to them. And then, of course, you have the wings on top for the helm. But this is the Arcanist Legendary Season 2 skin. Next up is the Summoner. And what's interesting to me about this is the skin that they showed on the promo art in the patch preview for Western Lost Ark. And I'm wondering why, because it doesn't seem like we're going to have Summoner by the time that these come out. Are they going to maybe try to swap this for Sorceress? So maybe Sorceress gets this skin and then down the line Summoner won't? I don't know. This one has crazy big silhouette break. You see these almost like tulip shapes on the shoulders here. But you can see from all angles, it does have a lot of silhouette break. It's got these little floral patterns in metal that stick out in the back. And it's got like these crazy sparkly VFX flying off in every direction. Some on the weapon. I believe there's some on the skin itself as well. And it does have the two flowy tassels on the outside. But if you bring the weapon out for the Summoner, the big thing, if you'd never played other regions, the Summoner has a staff just like the Sorceress. It's just not as long. It's like a medium length staff. I wouldn't call it short, but it's nowhere near as like the 6 foot, ground to above head staff that the Sorceress has. But maybe they're going to swap that out. I don't know. I don't know why they would use the Summoner's legendary skin on their promotional art for the release of a patch that won't have Summoner in it, unless they just were looking for art and they didn't know what class was what, or they're planning on giving this skin to the Sorceress since she's already out in the West. I guess we'll have to see on that one. This is the other version, the white version. They both have a lot of white, but this one has blue. I almost wish that this blue was darker. to me, if you're going to have this much white, I would like to have more contrast with like a darker or just a different value on the blue. But the blue is kind of lighter, more pastel color, and it blends with the white, and you feel very angelic and pure and innocent. And it kind of emphasizes some of the stark, colors of the red that they had prior, and kind of helps the white pop a little bit more. And then I think the VFX blend a little bit more, and maybe that's what you like. Maybe you want to have kind of these lighter blue VFX coming off the weapon and off the midsection for the skin. But this is the Summoner, and we'll have to see what happens to it. Up next is the Bard, the last mage, well, at least one of the two mages we have in the West right now. And this one's super cool. It kind of reminds me, at least the top half kind of reminds me of Genshin. They do have like these medieval styles there. And then the bottom half, kind of, there's a lot of these in Lost Ark overall. But I think this kind of regal, you almost got this full crown top here. It's almost like Scarlet Monastery feeling to it. This is the white version of it. I love the weapon for this because it's got this like, it's almost like a shield with how like thick and wide it is. And it's got this light at the front. Feels like it's gonna shoot a laser beam out of it. And I think it works really well. Honestly, overall, I think this is one of the better Bard skins in the game. This is the white version, and this is the black version. Very formal. It's got lots of black. It's kind of that bronze brass color to it on the metal fixins. It's got a pure white light coming out of it. And you can even mix and match these if you wanted to. You could put the black on the white one, and obviously you could dye them as well. But this one I think is super cool. And when Bards show up on MVP, which they most often do, this kind of, I think the top half is just super cool to look at. And you obviously can see the effects coming out of the shoulder pieces a lot easier with the darker coloration of this skin. But this is the Season 2 legendary skin for Bard. Up next is the Sorceress skin. And to me, this one is not all that interesting. Kind of like the Deadeye and the Gunslinger. It feels like there's just, I don't know, there's a lot of these types of skins in the game already. It doesn't really feel legendary to me. And it kind of has that masquerade mask look to it. The weapon itself, which is the big staff, it does have this kind of like bunny ears on top of it and some effects coming off of it. But I don't know. It just feels a little too normal for being a legendary skin, for something that's going to cost you either a lot of money or a lot of gold or a lot of patience to get. And I think most sorceresses that use it for the stats don't end up showing it. But you could super dig this, having this kind of like night masquerade vibe to it. This is the red, the white version, and there is a black version as well. I think this helps the stockings here pop a lot more, just because of the way the color palette shifts. And obviously this will kind of help show your character's customization as well, I guess depending on how it looks, obviously. And then you have these kind of blue, almost Southern kind of blue purple mixture on the VFX. And I think it's super cool too, is you can actually like mix and match some of them. You can put the red on the black if you really wanted to, you can mix them together, but obviously you can dye them as well. But this is the Sorceress Season 2 Legendary. Moving on to martial artists. This is the Wardancer, and this is probably it's definitely the top 3 for me. One of my favorite Wardancer skins in the entire game. I just love having sleeker, thinner forms on the Wardancer, maybe just because she's played, most of her builds are swiftness. She plays very fast. It's all about timing and fluidity and motion. You have wind effects. It's called the Wardancer, right? So like, I think this kind of aesthetic for the Wardancer just feels really cool and super awesome. You kind of have that kind of quintessential hat, like that kind of Raiden hat, more traditional hat. But I think then you kind of have like the gradient coming down, and you have obviously the effects coming off the weapon, which is super cool. And again, it is dyeable, and you can swap in different pieces. I probably would swap out something else with the, like, I don't know if there's anything, something like this, and you would dye it, obviously, but just something to kind of like make it all fit together. But that is the overall skin for the Wardancer. This is the black version, super cool, and the white version is just as cool. This one just pops. I don't know, do you see like the white blur just going across your screen, zooming, kicking, flipping, doing all that kind of business? I think this one fits overall really, really well, and kind of has that different, and obviously you can have your hair kind of, I think It'll have the same hairstyle coming off this hat, regardless of what your customization is. But you obviously have plenty of room to show off your customization everywhere else. And it does have these kind of like claws coming off the outside, and it does have these little like, you know, I think on the middle finger there's a claw there as well, but super cool. I think it kind of has that that vibe to it. It's just one of my favorite Wardancer skins in the game, and I hope that we do get it, and hopefully that the market for it, because I'm not going to be spending real money for these, but I hope that the market price of the gold version is reasonable in the West, so that I can pick one up, because I would love to have this on my Wardancer. Moving on to Scrapper. This one didn't stick with me. I wouldn't use this on my Scrapper. I'm sure there's, you know, there's always people that have different preferences, but I'm just sharing mine. This is something that it feels a little too like Phantom of the Opera Masquerade for a martial artist. I don't know. I feel like this feels closer to the Noble Banquet for the Scrapper. Again, they are unique for every class in the legendaries, but this is the Scrapper version, and this is with her in combat stance. But it doesn't feel as noteworthy as a legendary skin to me. Kind of the same feelings that I had for Gunslinger and Deadeye and Sorceress. It just feels like it's a little too normal and not as unique, but maybe you're super into this. Obviously, you can dye it. You can change the mask if you want. You can change out different pieces. This may even work with the Founders Pack skin that Scrapper has that does look kind of like this. And this is the black version. The effects pop a little bit more here because it's not white on white. It's like this kind of, you know, rusty, sandy color on black. So the contrast makes it pop a little bit more. But this is the Scrapper black skin. And it looks, you know, it looks all right. You know, this could be something that people really jive with. You know, maybe it's just something for you. It's something I would use on my Scrapper, but it's neato burrito. Moving on to Soulfist. One of the few skins that does have it. There is more of an already, you know, fox skin that comes in one of the anniversary packs for Soulfist. But this is another one that does have that kind of foxy vibe to it, with the two tails coming off the back. And then the two pieces on top as well. It's got cherry blossoms plus this tree on the headpiece. Lots of bows and stark colors. So this is the more or less white version. It's got like this little like sharp rose pink with this kind of like off maroon. I don't even know. I don't even know what color this is. It's like a mixture of pink, like a deeper pink, I guess. Flames coming off and rings coming off on the weapon as well, which is super cool. And this is what it would look like with the combat stance. You can see the claws coming off the fingers, and there are VFX that are passive on both the weapon and the skin itself, which is cool. And this one, what I like about this one as a legendary skin is it does feel more unique, right? There's not really any skin that looks like it in the game. You have this big poofy shoulder piece, this mantle that goes around and comes back down. You've got massive tails coming off the back. You have this different presentation for the arms and for the head. And the weapon feels relatively different as well, with different effects on it. You can even use different weapons for the skin, but it feels very Soulfisty and unique, which I think are good requirements for legendary skins in general. This is the Glaivier Legendary Season 2 skin. I think it kind of fits in the same collection as the Wardancer does. It does have that kind of vibe to it, but this one feels a little bit more compact rather than more flowy, formal, mainly because it kind of just fits better and it looks like it's more fit for combat. Maybe it's because of the bracers, the way that works together. But this is the black version. This is another skin that I would definitely have on my Glaivier. Looks super cool. It's got like this little pouch on the waist that's just spewing effects. Who knows what's in that pouch? Maybe magic dust. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe who knows what's in there? It could be super special glowy dust of doom. But this is the black version. Super cool. I think this one fits really well. This is the glaive skin on the top there, and then this would be the spear as well. Spear is kind of simple, but obviously you would have the weapon glow on it, kind of covering the whole dang thing. You can also swap out different ones, but this one is dyeable. I think some of these parts are pretty flexible on what areas you can dye, which ones you can't, but this one looks super cool. This is the black version, and this is the all white version for the Glaivier. Again, I mean, it's the same skin, it just has different colors. And again, there are, you know, subtle aspects of each skin that cannot be dyed in this case, and I think that's why there's two of them, so you can figure out if you wanted the all white effects. You could dye the rest of it to make the white pop more. on the VFX side, but then you kind of have these flowing parts. But this one is just, I don't know, I really dig this aesthetic for a martial artist, and I think this one kind of fits into it really nicely. So this is the Glaivier skin. And lastly, for the martial artist, we have the Striker. And if you've ever played Black Desert Online, this one I think got some criticism for basically being the basic Striker in Black Desert Online, and it kind of is this kind of very heavily armored but muscle defined armor on the top, these kind of glowing bits to it. I think if you swapped out the mask or even just kind of elongated it, it would look very similar to the Black Desert Online, but maybe that's cool. I mean, I think it's super cool. I would use this on my Striker personally. I think it's super cool. It fits really well with his motion. It's like armored, but not like encumbered armor, right? That you get from a warrior where it feels like they can't move as well. It kind of got like the open gaps here in different pieces. It feels like it's not, you know, full heavy armor. It's like plated, but not all the way there. And I like having these little, you know, frill effects shooting off the weapon. And I think this would look really good with some of the higher, like, you know, plus 18 up and up weapon glows that you get on your weapon. But this one's super cool. This is the all white version, and this is the all black version. For some reason, I just see Batman or Robin. Maybe it's just because it's the black mask with just the mouth showing. But I just see Batman here. It does have these kind of like almost Shaw-like from like WoW, these white glowing effects on the weapon itself, which I think is super cool. It looks really, really nice on that. And again, it's dyeable, so you could mess around with this and kind of make your own skin out of it. However you like. But I again, I really like the armor, light armor, almost like composite armor for the Striker, and overall how the Striker looks and animates. Moving on to the assassins, this is the Deathblade, and this one I think she has better skins, to be honest. And maybe when you mix and match it, I personally just don't think the weapons are all that unique, but you can mix and match them with other ones. I do love the halo part of behind the head plus the hood. I think the head is probably the best part of this skin. It's kind of like a light hood that angles downward with this crazy glowing angelic halo behind. And then the top of the chest piece is pretty cool too. And then I think personally, just the rest of it just feels a little more normal. But again, you can mix and match, you can dye, you can put patterns, all that kind of stuff. I think honestly, like the season 1 Deathblade skin was better. And there's also just better Deathblade skins in the game overall. But I can see this head, maybe even the weapons going with other skins that she has. You can even dye this how you want, but this is the black or the all white version for the Deathblade. And this is the alternate color. It's almost kind of reversed. They do have this skin for the Deathblade in a lot of art, like marketing art, splash art that they use for the game. This kind of coloration as well. It's like this deep blue, like almost like a cobalt blue on the very bottom with high spec. And then you got like the whites with this very light brushed white metal. The effects on the weapons have gone full white, so very angelic. And again, you have this halo on the back of the hood. I love the patterning. I love the headpiece, super nice. And the rest of it kind of just brings it all together. I think overall, like, this is definitely a skin I would use on my Deathblade. I just feel like there are better options. And again, you don't have to show the legendary skin if you end up getting one for your main character or any character that you have. You can show other skins on top of it and just keep the stats. But this is the Deathblade legendary season 2 skin. And this is the Shadowhunter. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some techie vibes going on with the mask. I would probably not use the mask personally, but I think the rest of it's kind of cool. The high collar behind, the effects coming off the weapon. I love the fact that the effects coming out of the weapon have very intentional directionality. So you can see they're kind of like shooting off in a direction rather than just kind of drifting around, which is pretty cool. I think the Shadowhunter does have better skins as well, but again, it is dyeable if you wanted to mix this up and then just use the VFX as an accent for your character. But this one feels, I don't know, it's almost like maybe like the Matrix, almost Trinity vibes, maybe because it has this super high spec, almost latex looking suit on it, plus the goggles and the mask as well, showing the hair. But yeah, this is the Shadowhunter first coloration, and this is the second. So rather than having that like pink purple shine to it, it has like mostly black. It is kind of like an off black, like a charcoal black, or like an ash, no, like charcoal black. And then it's got the red VFX coming out of it with red accents. This one is my favorite of the two, but obviously depends on what you're trying to accomplish. It is nice for the purple one because there's a lot of purple effects with your demon form, or not demon form, but your demon abilities outside of demon form. And then in demon form, they're all red, right? So maybe this kind of goes well with that like it kind of blends your demon mode version, because it is kind of have the same aesthetic to it. You know, the white hair with the black and the red VFX. So maybe you just want to look like a similar version to your demon mode, but this one is, I think it's good, man. I think there's gonna be a lot of people that are really happy with this and would be fine using this as their main skin. Moving on to Reaper, another class I can't wait to have in the West. Super fun, very flexible, very mobile class. This one is Latex Extreme. So this is the legendary season 2 skin for the Reaper. Very tassel. It's got like kind of this heart glow piece to it. I think this one is very iconic. They use this a lot in their marketing, just in general for Reaper and overall. Super, super cool. I think this skin is nice. I would probably dye it and maybe bring some of the specular down so it's not so shiny. But I think it's got some really cool things going on. I love the fact that a lot of the Reaper skins are very small form. You can probably see a preference for me just overall and like how this looks. But it's super cool. This is the weapon as well. I know we don't have Reaper in the West right now, but I just wanted to at least show it while we have it. And if you preferred it, it has a black version with that kind of South Vern chaos dark purple color to it, which is super nice. And again, it is dyeable, so you can change some of this up if you wanted to max with the skin. This one, obviously, anytime they go all black, but they leave the strong coloration on the VFX and the glow, it makes the glow pop a lot more, which is nice. The mask kind of had like this like down, it's like a half mask. She's COVID ready with this like Batman mask that she's got going on. Super cool. And I think it fits the Reaper really well. And that's all the skins, the season 2 legendary skins. I'll probably do, if there's, you know, let me know if there's interest, but I would probably do like maybe a review of the overall legendary skin system, the Yaz's jar, the purchasing options, and all that, and what it really does for the game. It is very expensive to get these skins. It does give you a small amount of power, and they are pretty hard to get and purely RNG. So there's definitely aspects to that, but these are the legendary skins. I just want to make sure I ran through them for anyone who's curious what they look like for when we eventually get them in the game. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content, link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.